What's up guys, it's DarkArmedDuelist and today doing the budget build of the Fallen and the Virtuous structure deck. So I'm really excited to do this one for you guys because this deck uses 3 of the Fallen and the Virtuous structure decks to make one incredible deck. And the Fallen and the Virtuous has all sorts of awesome reprints like Triple Tactics Thrust and even the Bestial Rebellion. And the best part about it is that it's all foil. So without further ado, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit that bell in there so you can become part of the notification squad, and definitely check out the Patreon down in the description below for all those awesome rewards. So without further ado, let's go and get straight on into this. So first off, we're going to be playing 3 copies of Fallen of Albaz. Fallen of Albaz is an amazing 3-0 in the build because this card is a key combo piece in going in for all of our fusion plays. With this card having the ability, if this card is normal or special summon, you can actually discard a card to be able to fusion summon a fusion monster from your act deck using monsters on either player's field, including this card, but you cannot use other monsters you control as material, basically letting you use your opponent's cards to fusion summon, which is absolutely insane. We then play 3 copies of Allure. Allure is amazing as a 3-of in the build because this card has the awesome effect that if it's normal or special summon, you can actually add a branded spell or trap card from your deck to your hand, instantly getting us to a copy of Branded Fusion. We then play 2 copies of Blazing Cartesia. Blazing Cartesia is amazing in this deck, but I feel like 2 copies is really all you need because you can summon this card off your copy of Fusion deployment because this and your copy of Fallen of Albaz are your Fusion deployment targets. But this card is actually a walking polymerization and an extender, as if you have a Fallen of Albaz on the field or in the graveyard, you can special summon this card from your hand, and also during the main phase, quick effect, you can actually fusion summon a level 8 or higher fusion monster from your action using monsters from your hand or field. Also during the end phase, if a fusion monster was actually sent to your graveyard this turn, you can actually add this card from your graveyard to your hand. We then play 2 copies of Guiding Quim. Quim is an amazing 2-of in the build and such a powerful card to be able to play because this card is always treated as a Dogmatica and a Despia card. And if this card is normal or special summon, you can actually send a Fallen of Albaz or one card that mentions it from your deck to the graveyard, which is an incredible ability because we have so many good targets we can actually send to the grave off this card's effect. Also, if a card leaves the action deck, you can actually target a Fallen of Albaz or a monster that mentions it in the graveyard and special summon it. We then play 3 copies of Albion the Shrouded Dragon. Albion is incredible as a 3-of in the deck and basically gives us a draw, which is so cool about this card. We play a single copy of Mercurier. Mercurier is an incredible hand trap monster and that's just really cool to be able to play in the deck and helps us just stop our opponent in their tracks. We play a single copy of Spriggan's Kit. Spriggan's Kit is really good as a 1-of and actually helps us search out our actual branded spells or trap cards, which is super cool. And this card is also an extender, making this card a definite 1-of in the build. We then play a single copy of Despian Tragedy. Tragedy is really good as a 1-of in the build, but I feel like 1 copy is really all you need. And this card is really good in the deck because it has the effect that if this card is sent to the graveyard or it's banished by a card effect, you can actually add a Despia monster from your deck to your hand, except another copy of this card. You can also banish this card in the graveyard and then target a branded spell or trap card in the graveyard and set it to your side of the field, which is a really cool ability to be able to use to instantly put the exact card we need on our field, like a copy of Branded Fusion. We may see a copy of the Bestial Rebellion. Rebellion is really good as a 1-of in the deck and just a really cool card overall that cannot be normal summoned or set. It must be special summoned from the hand or the graveyard by tributing a level 6 or higher Dark Dragon monster, which is super easy to do in this deck with our copies of Magnamut and Saunir. And this card also searches out other bestial monsters by sending itself from the hand to the graveyard and add a bestial monster from your deck to your hand, and when it's on your side of the field during the main phase, you can actually place a branded continuous spell or trap card from the deck face up on the field, which is a great ability to instantly get your copy of Branded Lost. We then play a single copy of Magnamut. Magnamut is great to help us control the graveyard and also search our dragon monsters during the end phase after this card was special summoned to our side of the field, which is so cool. We then played 3 copies of Saunier. Saunier is definitely a 3-of in the build, as this card, just like your copy of Magnamon, has the ability that you can actually target a light or dark monster in either player's grave and banish it, and we do special summon this card from your hand. And it's a quick effect if your opponent controls a monster. And if it's sent to the graveyard, you can actually send a Bestial monster or a branded spell trap card from the deck to the grave, which is such a powerful ability to get the exact card you need to the graveyard off this card's effect. We then played 3 copies of Nibiru. Nibiru is such a powerful hand trap and a really cool 3-of in the deck, helps you break your opponent's board. So that's it for the monsters, guys. Let's get into the spells. So for the spells, we're going to start with a single copy of Foolish Burial. Foolish Burial is definitely a 1-of in the build to basically get the exact monster we need to the graveyard. We then play a single copy of Gold Sarcophagus. Gold Sarcophagus is an amazing combo piece in the deck that helps us banish a monster from our deck. We then play a single copy of Branded in Red. Branded in Red is incredible and just such a cool card to set to our side of the field. So it lets us target a Despia monster or a Fallen Volmaz in the graveyard and add it back to our hand. Then we can actually fusion summon a level 8 or higher fusion monster from our extract by banishing the fusion materials that mentioned on it from our hand or our field, but it cannot attack directly this turn, which is totally fine, as we usually set this card to our side of the field and then activate it during our opponent's turn until it's going for a fusion play. We made a single copy of Branded Lost. Branded Lost is great to help us protect our fusion plays, and definitely a 1-of in the build. We then played 2 copies of the Fallen and the Virtuous. The Fallen and the Virtuous is really cool as a 2-of in the build and just such a powerful card because this card is always treated as a branded and a dogmatica card. And this card has the ability you can actually send a monster that mentions Fallen Volmaz from your extract to the graveyard to target a face-up card on the field and destroy it, which is a great effect to use this card as an interruption. And it's just such a cool card in this deck. We then played 2 copies of Branded Fusion. Branded Fusion is definitely a 2-of in the build because this card is such a good fusion spell that the entire deck is basically based around to help us step into our fusion plays, and it's just such a cool card. One of my favorite cards in the entire game. We then played 3 copies of Nadir's Servant. Nadir's Servant is great as a 3-of in the build because this card lets us actually send a monster from our extract to the graveyard and then add a Dogmatica monster or a Fallen Volmaz from our deck or graveyard to our hand that has attack less than or equal to the sent monsters in the graveyard. Also, for the rest turn as this card resolves, you cannot special summon the extract, which is totally fine. This card is definitely a 3-of the build and such a powerful card to help us get monsters in our extract into the graveyard while also getting a search. We then play 3 copies of Fusion Deployment. Fusion Deployment is great to help us summon another copy of Fallen Volmaz or Blazing Cartesium, which is actually really funny that they're both on the card because that's both of our targets to actually summon, and this is actually an alternative art that we got in the structure deck and is one of the most incredible alternative arts in the entire game. Definitely one of my favorites. We then play 3 copies of Triple Tactics Thrust. Thrust is amazing in this build because this card actually gets us to our copy of Branded Fusion, which is so important in this build. And this card actually also got an alternative art with the Tri-Brigade monsters on it, which is so cool. We then play 3 copies of Branded Opening. Branded Opening is definitely a 3-of in the build because this card lets you discard a card to take a Despia monster from your deck and either add it to your hand or special summon it in defense position, which is an incredible ability to instantly bring out our copy of Aluber to our side of the field so we can search out Branded Fusion. But you can also summon out cards like Guiding Quinn with this card if you already have your copy of Branded Fusion, which is super cool. This card also gives us some protection for our fusion monsters because if a fusion monster you control would be destroyed by a card effect, you manage to carve from the graveyard instead. We then play 3 copies of Branded in High Spirits. This card is a really cool 3-of in the deck and helps us get to the exact cards that we need, letting us reveal a monster in our hand and then send a level 8 fusion monster from our extract to the graveyard with the same type that has 2500 attack or defense. Then you can apply the effect to discard the revealed monster, and if you do, add a Fallen Volmaz or a monster that mentions it from our deck to our hand. Also, during the end phase, if a fusion monster was sent to the graveyard this turn, you can add this card from your graveyard back to your hand, but you can only use one effect of this card per turn and only once that turn. So that's it for the spells, guys. Let's get into the traps. So for the traps, we're going to start with a single copy of Fusion Duplication. This card is an amazing one-of in the build that actually lets us target a fusion or a polymerization normal or quick play spell in the graveyard, banish that spell, then apply that spell's effect when it would be activated, which is a really cool ability to use with our copy of Branded Fusion. We then made a single copy of the Black Goat Laughs. Black Goat Laughs is an amazing one-of in the build that we actually set to our side of the field using our copy of Triple Tactics Thrust. And this card, if you set it to your side of the field and you resolve it, usually you're gonna win the game, and this card is so insanely powerful to be able to use in this deck. We then made a single copy of Branded Retribution. Branded Retribution is really cool as a counter trap and an awesome card that has a really cool graveyard effect that you can actually banish a card in the graveyard to target a branded spell trap card in the graveyard and add it back to your hand, which is a great effect to be able to use. So that's it for the main deck, guys. It is a 50 card main deck. Let's get in to the extra deck. So for the extra deck, guys, we're going to start off with 2 copies of the Dragon That Devours the Dogma. This card is such a cool boss monster we just got out of the structure deck, and it's such an awesome card that requires a Fallen of All Bass plus a lighter dark monster plus an effect monster to make this card. And this card has an incredible ability of its special summon. You can actually shuffle up to 2 cards from any player's graveyard or banishment into the deck, helping you control the graveyard while also helping you recycle resources if you need to. Also during the end phase, if this card is in the graveyard because it was sent there this turn, you can actually add a Dogmatica or a Tri-Brigade card from your deck to your hand, helping you get the exact card that you need. We then played 2 copies of Mirror Jade. Mirror Jade is just an incredible boss monster, helping you just spot remove cards off the field, and it's definitely a 2-of in the deck. We made a single copy of Lubellion. Lubellion is great as a 1-of in the build to basically just help us shuffle our fusion materials back and summon out some insane cards like Mirror Jade. We then played 3 copies of Albion. Albion is amazing in this deck, and in a pure build that you could play any card, I'd probably just play 2 copies of it, but since we are using just 3 copies of the structure deck, 3 is perfect because we have so many different cards that can help us send this card to the graveyard. And this card is so good at basically being a miracle fusion to help us summon out some insane boss monsters, and also this card has an insane effect that during the end phase, if this card is in the graveyard because it was sent there this turn, you can actually add your hand or set a branded spell or trap card directly from your deck, which is such a powerful effect and a card you always want to send to the graveyard off your copy of Mirror Jade. We then played 2 copies of Titaniclad. Titaniclad gets absolutely massive, and it's a really cool boss monster to be able to play in this deck, and it's just a really insane card that requires a copy of a Fallen of All Bass plus a monster with 2,500 or more attack points. We then played 2 copies of Grand Guignol, the Dusk Dragon. This card is super cool to be able to summon, but you always want to keep 1 copy of this card in your X shape because it specifically mentions Blazing Cartesia as a fusion material, meaning you can use fusion deployment to summon out your copy of Blazing Cartesia by revealing this card. And this card is really, in this card's fusion summon, you can actually send a level 6 or higher light or dark monster from your deck or X deck to the graveyard, which is a really cool ability to send the exact cards that you need to the grave. We play a single copy of Albalanitas. This card can actually contact fuse with other dragon monsters, which is absolutely insane, and just such a powerful card to be able to use because this card is really cannot be used as a fusion material, and it must either be fusion summoned or special summoned by sending the above cards from any monster zone to the graveyard, which is a Fallen of All Bass plus any number of dragon monsters. I'm going to see a copy of Ridbrom. Ridbrom is great because this card is actually a negate. And then finally play a single copy of Sprim, which is just a really good option overall in this deck. So that's it for the deck, guys. I hope you enjoyed. This deck is so much fun to be able to play. And if you guys have not checked out the Fallen and the Virtuous structure deck yet, you should definitely check it out because it's so much fun to be able to actually play. And it's insane how powerful it is just by actually putting together 3 of this structure deck, which is so cool. And it's such a cool structure deck to actually open because everything is foiled. So That's gonna do this one, guys. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit that bell in there so you can become part of the notification squad, and we'll see you guys in the next video. See you later, guys.